G'day everyone, it's Curtis here and welcome to an On The Back Wheel video. Today I'm reviewing the Bridgestone Adventurecross AX41s, both the front and the rear. We're going to talk about how they perform, what mileage they got, and whether or not you should buy a set. So a little bit about the Bridgestone AX41s. They are Bridgestone's take on the 50/50 adventure bike tyre. They're basically advertising them to perform really well on the road and equally good off the road. I got this set for $310 Australian delivered, and then I installed them myself. Install was fine, I didn't have too many problems at all. I mean, I was very much out of practice, so I struggled at times, but if you're experienced with putting on tyres, I can't see you having too many problems. I have the 130/80/17 rear and the 90/90 21-inch front. So since these are advertised as a 50/50 tyre, I'm going to talk about both my on and off-road experiences with them and how they performed. We'll start with on-road performance. These are a very good road tyre. They feel nice on the road. When I initially took off, I was like, oh, these feel like a bit like a knobby compared to the stock tyres that come on the KLR 650 here. But after a couple of kilometres, that goes away straight away and then end up feeling like a nice smooth tyre. They are quiet on the road. I didn't have any issues at all with road noise on these. They were quiet and smooth. At high speeds, they didn't do any whining or anything like that as you increase in pace. They do catch road snakes a little bit, especially on the highway, 80 kilometers and above, so about 50 to 60 miles per hour. Getting up that kind of area, they do catch the odd road snake, but it is predictable in the way that they do it. In the twisties, these perform fantastic. They are a nice feeling tyre on the street. They're kind of a soft compound as well. In the wet, towards the end of its life, this rear tyre was getting quite slippery. If we have a big look here, I'll chuck this in front. You can see it's kind of like a slick now. When it was like that, in the wet, out of corners, even the old KLR was spinning up. So if that's spinning up a rear tyre with its big 40 horsepower, I'd be concerned if you're on a bigger bike. The front, I was very confident on the road with the front tyre, and in the wet, I didn't really notice it sliding out or anything. It was pretty rock solid. Tip in with these tyres is a little slow, but they are very gradual and predictable in the way that they turn and change direction. So on road, these perform well. You can keep up with much quicker bikes on sportier tyres with these. They're very sticky road tyre, to be honest. Off-road, I'm not impressed. From the moment I put these on, my first ride impressions were, wow, I thought these would be much better performing off-road. They are better than the stock tyres in the KLR 650, but you know, what tyres aren't? If you're coming from something like a Motos or a D606 or E07 or something like that, you're going to be extremely disappointed with the off-road performance on these tyres. On gravel and basic dirt road sections or when it's dry, they perform quite well. You know, they're not too bad. In your grippy kind of loamy conditions, yeah, they're all right. But as soon as it gets sandy or remotely loose, they become pretty terrible, to be honest. It actually got to a point where these made me think I was lesser of a rider than I am off-road. And that is, you can't say anything worse about a tyre and their off-road performance. Look, I'm no Toby Price off-road, but you know, I get along okay, and I just had no confidence coming into skatey corners. Let's say it was gravelly kind of roads. I'd be coming in the corners, you'd feel like it was just skating across on the front. You couldn't attack aggressively in the dirt. I felt like the front was just washing out at the first opportunity it could. And then the rear tyre, as soon as it got remotely slippery or muddy or damp, you got no traction. So for basic hills, you're like, man, this is a basic hill. I should be cruising up this. I felt like I was really struggling. Suffice to say, I am not very impressed with their off-road performance. So why is the off-road performance bad? Well, I believe it's because they simply don't have enough tread, like it's not deep enough. Look, I don't make tyres for a living. I have no idea of the actual engineering and what's involved, but to me, like just looking at these are worn out now, but even from new, they weren't a deep tyre in that they didn't have a lot of tread. I don't know for sure why they didn't do that, whether it's to save costs or due to the design of tyre, it's just not going to work. I struggle to believe that because knobbies do that just fine. But in short, maybe if they increase the tread depth, it would really help, but I don't like the off-road performance on these. Also, the rear cakes up quite easily in the mud. So let's get to the mileage. The front tyre is quite good. It's gone through 2 rear tyres, this one front, the AX41 and then the Dunlop D606 I had on, and now I've just taken it off recently. So I'd say around 5,500, 6,000 kilometres. How they've worn has been quite even and progressive. The middle is slightly more worn out. You can see if we get in really close here that there are some kind of wrinkle marks from where I've had to lower the pressures to get out of sticky situations. But they've lasted okay. I haven't lost any knobs or anything like that. There are some little scrapes and cuts, but overall they've held up well. You can see on the sides, I've still actually got the little wear indicators on the edges, so I haven't been tipping over as much as I could be or should be. But I'm also doing commuting and adventure riding, not hitting up the twisties all the time. That's not the style of riding I'm doing on this bike. The rear tyre, mileage is terrible. I got 2,400 kilometers out of this, and it's pretty well cactus, and at that point it was starting to slide in the wet on the road, and off-road it was practically useless. And this is on a KLR 650. It's not exactly a powerhouse. Yes, it has about 210 kilos or to lug around, so there's a bit of weight on it, but this should be getting way better tyre life for the performance it puts out. I had no issues with punctures or anything like that. I mean, I got 2,400 kilometers. I didn't really get the opportunities to get punctures. Sidewall strength is quite good. You can see the middle has really worn out and it's quite slick now. There's still a little bit going on there, not a lot. On the sides, there's still a fair bit of chunk left there. So overall, I am very disappointed with the rear tyre life. The front tyre life I thought was very acceptable. So let's get down to the nitty gritty. Would I buy a set again, and should you buy a set? No, do not buy a set of these, do not waste your money. Look, I know that's scathing, but let's think about it. They don't perform well off-road, they don't get good mileage on it, so what's the point of them? You're better off getting a knobby on the front, a knobby on the back, like a D606, if you want your off-road performance, or if you want big mileage, get something like the Dunlop Trailmax Mission or the Motos GPS tyres. Okay, that's it from me, everyone. If you like what I'm doing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't, check out my other content. All right, keep it on the back wheel, everyone. Now for these. Good riddance. See yous.